Is enjoyful a word?
It is not.
Welcome to Timesink, the weekly podcast to let you know what's worth sinking your time into. I'm your host, Sauce, and I'm joined by Mr. Hummer.
What up?
And Tito.
I'm already in trouble for this podcast.
We got an episode for you this week. Is it going to be great? I don't know. You be the judge.
We got a great episode.
Oh, okay.
I'll be the judge.
It's mediocre at best. Average at best.
It's going to be somewhere between mediocre to great episode.
Nice.
We're going to talk about what's going on, what's hot, what's worth sinking your time into. We're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, Hummer's best friend. We're going to revisit Space Force, Run, Goose Game, Last of Us, Ducktales. So we're going to talk about a whole lot, and then we're going to dive into what makes a perfect movie. This is something near and dear to my heart, and I believe Hummer and Tito's too. So we're going to dive right in. But before we do, just a quick little refresher on what we do here at Timesink. We want to save you some time. You're busy. You maybe don't have a lot of free time. You got kids. You got your work. You got your miniature collection that you need to paint like Tito. So you don't have a lot of free time. So we've developed
Details
a scale.
are important.
Yeah, exactly. We've developed a scale 1 through 5. 5, yes. Whatever your list is and what you want to watch or what you want to play, put this at the top. This is what you need to play right now or watch. And 1, not worth your time. It's a big stinker. Don't even bother. So on a 1 to 5, it's worth your time. That's how we're going to rate things, and we're going to dive right in. Hummer, hit us with it.
Well, we're talking about my favorite guy.
Go on. Who's
Steve
your favorite
Carell
guy?
in Space Force.
The misdirect.
He's very charming.
I believe, Sauce, it was you who gave the recommendation for Space Force.
No, I didn't.
Was it Tito?
It was something we needed to watch, but no.
It's
Go ahead.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase by saying the words recommended. It was more that you brought to our attention that you had started it and that, you wanted us to check it out to give our feedback on the show. I liked it. I thought it was funny. I did think it was lacking in some areas, particularly, no spoilers, but I was not a big fan of how they ended the first season.
I didn't. Yeah, the ending was a little odd. It felt a little rushed. I think that's not a, I don't think that's a spoiler.
It's almost as if Greg Daniels got a call to do another movie or a show in the middle of making this. And it was just like, we got to wrap this up. We got to wrap this up, guys.
Is that a burn? Is that a Game of Thrones burn?
A little bit. Overall, though, I thought it was good. It's definitely, if you're looking for something to do, because it's something I've been thinking about with COVID going on and how all these studios basically shut down for 3 months. Like we have this time where we're sitting in our houses, we're sitting here, we're watching so much content, and all of a sudden, is there going to be a time like 6 months from now, a year from now, when all of a sudden, we're going to see the production delays? And we're just going to be in this like desert town with a lack of content.
Huh. That's a really good point. I have not thought about that. A good friend of mine and Frank's lives in LA, and she said that essentially everything has been shut down, like movie sets, basically anything with a lot of people congregating. So yeah, shooting movies and TV shows is just frozen for the last month or two.
I think we're going to be okay because a lot of the stuff that was going to come out just got delayed. So a lot of games got delayed, movies like Black Widow should have been out last month, So stuff got pushed back.
Also a great point. I'm not adding anything to this conversation.
I just thought it was something interesting because as I've been we're going through content, we're going through this podcast, we're sitting here. I really feel like at times we're starting to really grasp for straws when it comes to new content of what's actually being released now, because like Sauce said, they're delaying a lot of stuff. Black Widow not being out. Black Widow's, obviously not even going straight to in your living room the way they've done Scooby-Doo. Check it out.
Oh, I'm glad you threw in his last name. I was not sure who you were talking about.
Can you add his middle name too, please?
Is it Rodriguez?
Yeah, it is. We're taking it back.
No, that's a good point. When we started the when we started the podcast, we were planning on doing TV, video games, and movies, and I feel like we really haven't talked that much about movies because the only things that all the theater releases have been postponed, and the things that we've talked about have been the Netflix releases, which are not as big budget or as big name movies. And so I'm interested to see when all these come out, we can start giving our opinions on the good stuff. I love going to the movies.
Yes. Oh my God. It's one of the best things in the world.
I was just thinking about it today. Like, I just miss going to a big crowded theater, opening night, cheering and enjoying it with everybody, with a big stealing Tito's big tub of popcorn and
dressing up as Aaron Brockovich and the love interest in Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah, man, I miss that.
I miss seeing Sauce dress up as Princess Leia on Star Wars opening night
with Cinnabons for my hair buns.
He looked delicious.
What a delicious surprise!
Yeah, I mean, so I was really thinking about that when it came to Space Force because, like, if I'm looking through the shows right now, and even what's on Netflix is like top 10 this week, it's nothing in there that's kind of making me scream like, "Oh my God, you got to do this! You got to do this!" You know, the number one being 13 Reasons Why. And I can't tell you how much I think that show is just overplayed the story of a young woman who committed suicide, followed by all the, you know, sexual assault and just topics that I think it's time that they can move on from. I think they did a good job with season one.
It is strange that they've done 4 seasons of that show.
My wife loves that show.
Well, there you go. Maybe get her on here.
I could do a whole episode on shows that my wife watches that I refuse to watch.
I feel like you're
tapping I give you 13 reasons why I do not watch this show. But so it's like we're looking at Space Force and seeing what's out there. I'm thinking it's funny. It's good enough. You know, Steve Carell is Steve Carell. There's definitely the hint of that classic Greg Daniels trying to make like it's almost like an Office remake if it were in space. Because you're trying to get, you know, a goofy boss who's really doesn't seem like he's good at his job, but then he comes back and he makes the right decision and everything works out well. So I mean, from that side, it's a good story. You also mentioned Run, Tito, and I'll let Sauce give his opinion on that here in a second. But I liked it. It was a short series. It was like 7 episodes. They were a half hour
long. Too long.
Yeah, we blew through it in a couple of nights, and there was that time where like, whoa! And then there's other times where like, oh my God, this main character's so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, it draws you in. You'd be a fool not to like it. So it's really, really well written, well acted, just generally critically acclaimed. Yeah, so good call, Hummer. What did you think, Sauce?
Great segue, by the way.
Well, so, I got one more after this. We'll be quick on the last one.
Yeah, so you gave it such high praise last week, so I was like, all right, I don't have anything to watch right now. I'll check it out. I put on the first episode, and it just did not grab me at all. I don't like Merritt Weaver, whatever her name is, and all the shows she's in. I've never really liked that actress who's the main character, besides Domhnall Gleeson, who I do love. Except for General Hux. That's a terrible movie. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It did not grab me. I was not interested at all. It was there was clearly a love story. There was no lasers. There was no outer space. There's
no space wizards.
Everyone had their clothes on.
Yeah, just to be clear,
she did not always have her shirt on.
Okay, so I think for me, it just wasn't what I was looking for in a show to watch. I wasn't interested in this. So for the first episode, it starts out like, what's going on? I don't know. It's kind of like blah, glum. Gloomy. I don't know. It just did not interest me at all. So I just went back to some comfort food and just started watching Scrubs.
I will say, when I was watching Run, I really enjoyed it, like I said. And just to be clear, I was messing with you with that intro.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. I obviously really liked it. But as I was watching it, I was wondering if it was for everyone. Because it's a dark comedy. It's about a relationship between, essentially, when you look back on it, 2 people who aren't good people. And the series tries to make you cheer for them. And what they're doing is relatively understated. There's a lot of not tons of exciting sequences. It's very interpersonal dialogue. So yeah, if you're looking for like a straight up, obviously comedy, that's not it. If you're looking for clever writing with a happy ending, that's not it. If you're looking for action, smart or silly, that's not it. So it definitely hit me where I live. I like this kind of thing, and Hummer obviously liked it as well. But I was kind of thinking this might not be for everybody.
Well, I think too with it, you mentioned that it's not certain things, but while the humor is dark, the characters themselves are, for the most part, in my opinion, pretty complex, and the way they lay them out. So it's really good writing how they kind of make these two people seem like they're supposed to be perfect for each other, but really, like, as you're going through the series, you're seeing like the cracks and the pitfalls, and and really one person has nothing to lose while the other person has everything to lose. And so you kind of see the balance of what these characters are thinking. I think they did a really good job. But before I take up too much time here, I got to get into the meat of what we're time sinking this week. Now, this man did not kill himself. This man's name is Jeffrey Epstein, filthy rich. Honestly, from a documentary perspective, like, do not watch it with your kids, because it's really is talking about some serious content. Seriously adult themed content in terms.
I don't know.
What he
I don't know if you needed to clarify that we shouldn't watch this Epstein documentary.
I just want to make sure that we're putting
kids.
a TVMA stamp on this, okay? But no, I mean, it's very informative and kind of gives you insight. Like, a lot of it is pretty much like you hear what the women are saying. They're getting their voice out, but there is a lot of like read between the lines, in my opinion, where like they're presenting you like the evidence of what was done in court between Alexander Custis and the attorney general at the time, and how basically this whole Epstein saga has been going on since like the early 2000s, and that he'd been under investigation multiple times for this, and it wasn't until the Me Too movement that this actually became like resurfaced again. So it was actually a really good documentary, and I think it put a lot of focus on the corruption too that there is in government, in terms of our Justice Department. And if you want to highlight
what a shocker.
Yeah, but to me it stuck out as weird too, because you're looking at all these social injustices, and obviously this is a big one, but then just in the larger scope of where we are today in the world, with Black Lives Matters and the marches and everything that's going on, and it's just it just puts in your light that things need to change. It's an institutional problem that needs changing.
If you look into the details of the Epstein case, it's just really sickening and messed up. I was kind of wondering when I saw this documentary pop up on the Netflix queue, I feel like there are different levels of quality of documentary. There's like really good investigative journalism that's disturbing stuff that people should probably watch, like the Michael Jackson documentary, the R. Kelly one. I wasn't sure what level this one was. When there's a big, good documentary coming up, I at least hear a little bit of buzz about it. This one just kind of popped up on my screen, and I feel like you see tons of these little Netflix things pop up, and you're never really sure what the quality is. But it sounds like this one was pretty well researched and in-depth, and it's starting to gain its own level of buzz. Does it seem pretty legit?
It's worth watching. It's definitely worth watching. It's funny because we went over the new scale, but I like the old scale. No, it's definitely a 4. Like, you don't need to drop what you're doing. Like, you don't need to go out and immediately watch it after this. But it's definitely something that if you don't know about this story and you weren't really privy to it when it all came to light, it's definitely worth getting out there and taking some time and sitting down and watching it. You won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
How many lasers are in it?
Lasers? None.
I don't think Sauce is gonna like it.
I don't know about that one. What about
there might be space wizards.
All right, I'll check it out. You got to rate Space Force and Run too.
Space Force, I'd give it a 3. Run, honestly, because it's such a different show. I mean, it's only 7 episodes. They're 30 minutes, so it's 2.5 hours of your life. If I'm not even 3.5 hours of your life, if I do my math right now.
Math's hard.
Oh no, I'm still wrong. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes, but so I think I'd give that a 2.5.
Wow. Last week's show of the week.
It's
Not
just
with a strong review.
it's because you bring up some good points. It's not for everyone. You're not going to get all the humor in it. A lot of people probably are going to get turned off by the fact that one of the main center points of the show is adultery. So I immediately see that turning off a large group of people who don't want to watch that stuff.
I can also see it turning on some people too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that too.
There's some complex themes that they deal with for sure.
That watching that first episode of Run gave me anxiety because like when her husband's texting her like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" That just gave me so much anxiety. I was not enjoying it.
Hit a little too close to home there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, so that's pretty good, Hummer. That's an in-depth look at a couple of shows we talked about last time. Sauce, anything else that you sunk your time into this last week?
Yes. So I've been pretty busy with work these last 2 weeks, so I haven't checked out a whole lot of stuff that's brand new, but I was going back to some newer stuff that is definitely all of these recommendations I think are worth your time. So I was playing the Untitled Goose Game with my daughter. So
Nice.
she's 4 and she still has a hard time. She doesn't know how to like use the controller yet. So I'm trying to like find different games where she can kind of just like move around in the world and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So she really likes the goose game. So this game is you're a goose. You can honk.
Who's goose? You're a goose, my goose? Who's goose? Goose?
You're Iceman and Tito's Maverick. And you play as Goose.
That's right, I am Iceman.
You play as a mischievous goose, and you're kind of like solving puzzles, and you're kind of being like a huge asshole to like the little community that you're in, and trying to solve puzzles to achieve a goal that I don't want to reveal because it's kind of a spoiler. But it's like it's a sandbox game, not crazy and broken like Goat Simulator is, but you just are kind of being
hey, you watch it.
That game is supposed to be broken. Like that's the way it was designed.
Awesome.
I'm not saying it's not awesome, but I'm just it's a very refined game.
Bah!
I just like that you made me Maverick.
I've never seen Top Gun, so I don't really know.
Oh,
I
forgot that you haven't seen Top Gun. Man, you got to see Top Gun. It's so good.
You know when Top Gun Maverick comes out, like we're gonna. Tito, you and I will review that movie, and we'll just be like, "Nope, Sauce, you're not allowed on this week."
You don't have the cred. You don't have the background to review the movie.
I'll maybe watch it.
We'll have Sauce on, but what I'll do is I'll just mute him the whole time, and we'll talk about it.
So nothing new.
That sounds fair.
So in this game, you're just going around town being a dick, stealing people's toys, stealing people's stuff, achieving different goals. And it's really fun. It's a short game. You could beat this game in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. It's just a little fun puzzle game. You can pick it up for like $10. I played it on Nintendo Switch, but it's really cute. It won a bunch of awards last year. A lot of people nominated for Game of the Year just because they had so much fun with it and they thought it was just such a fresh, original, and silly idea. And my daughter was playing it too, so I definitely recommend the Goose Game. I think it's actually on Game Pass right now. I actually have to double check that, and I forgot to look it up before the show. But Goose Game, if you're looking for a fun little game to play that's just like not going to take a lot of brain power, but it'll make you laugh, and it's just a fun thing to get into. Definitely check out Goose Game. I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5. It's a great game.
I thought it was only for Switch. Maybe was just when it was released.
Yeah, no, it might have come out on Switch first, but yeah, it's available on every platform.
Okay.
So since I can play Switch in bed, and that's one of the best perks about it, since I've been so busy, I'll just come home, go to bed. But I can play my Switch in bed, so I don't want to think. I don't want to invest a lot of brain power into what I'm doing. I'm just kind of relaxing before I fall asleep. So I really like to play this puzzle game. It's called Picross. This is going to be really hard to explain on audio only, but you have a grid, like a 10 by 10 grid, and you can get bigger and bigger. And it's almost kind of like Sudoku. That's the easiest way to explain it. So you get numbers in each row and each column, and those numbers tell you it's a puzzle, but you have to figure out which boxes you need to fill in. and based on the puzzle and filling in the boxes, you end up making a little picture. They're not super hard. It's not. It does require some level of thought, but not a lot of brain power. It's just a great, relaxing puzzle game to play. Like, you can download it on your phone. It's not the same one that is made, the official Picross or Picross, but you can get like knockoff games on your phone. I really like it on Switch because having controls makes it a lot easier, I think. And it's super popular. There's 4 versions of it. I played through and did all the puzzles on the first one, and I downloaded the most recent one because they added some new features with some, like, every puzzle you unlocks a part of a bigger picture. And Picross is great if you just want a fun little game to just not think about and play before you go to sleep, or you want to pick it up and play it for just like 2 to 3 minutes before, if you got in between time. Picross is like a must-have on your Switch. I know it's available on other devices, but it's perfect on Switch because you just pick it up, do a puzzle for a minute or two, put it down. Yeah, that's a 5 out of 5 must-own game if you have a Switch. It's a fun puzzle game. Definitely check it out. Picross.
I've heard really good things about Picross, and have been wondering if I should invest in some time into it, because, Sudoku is... I used to do Sudoku just back in the newspaper or whatever 10 years ago.
I just watched a trailer for Goose Goose or Unlimited Goose Game, and that looks hysterical.
I know, right?
Really
it's
good.
so good.
It's
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. So what did you? I know you're talking about Picross, and definitely finish your thought. But you played Goose Game too, Tito. So tell us. About
I have. Yeah. Let me finish that really quickly. Yeah, I heard really good things about Picross. I was hesitant to buy it because in my head I was like, why would I play Sudoku on my Switch when I can play other cool games like Goose Game and Overwatch and all that good stuff? But I know a lot of people enjoy it, so hearing that you really think it's worth it, I'll probably check it out. Yeah, I played Goose Game as well, and yeah, it's exactly like you said. It's fun, it's silly, it's easily accessible. There's some good puzzles, and there's just a lot of built-in jokes. It's humorous. I definitely wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5. I know it got really good reviews and was considered for Game of the Year by a lot of people last year. I actually didn't finish it just because when I was playing it, it was a time when, kind of like the whole year, that a bunch of other stuff was out. So I was finishing up. Death Stranding, and I was waiting to play Control, and I was waiting to play Fallen Order, which I haven't played yet, and there's just a whole set of things. So I did play through a good amount of Goose Game. I never finished it. I will eventually finish it, but it didn't capture my attention.
You could probably finish it in a good poop, a solid poop.
Those are the only kind of poops I do.
Yeah, that's why I can't get a Switch. My butt would just be attached to the shitter.
You should get a Switch, though.
Yeah, you should.
It was funny. I was playing. What was I playing last night? Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and my cousin was on, and I haven't talked to him for a while. And the guys he was playing with, like, half of them were playing on PC, some playing on an Xbox. And he was talking about, like, we're like, Kevin, like, you should get a PC. And he goes, he's giving his reason why he's not going to get a PC. He goes, and I just I did buy a Switch. And all that's right. You bought a Switch and you didn't buy a damn PC?
To be fair, a Switch is probably a little more cost efficient than a full PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he said he loved it. And he, so he turned it back on me and was like, well, you need to get a Switch.
It's great, man. You need to.
I love Nintendo. I grew up on Nintendo. When I was 3 years old, my dad got me a NES for my birthday, and it took me years to figure out how to do it, and I played with the controller upside down, but it's actually his fault. For every bad decision I ever made in my life was my dad's fault because he got me addicted to video games.
I can imagine your dad back when you were 3 being like, maybe if he just focuses on video games, he won't do all the stuff that I've done in my life.
You know what's funny? Like, I formed my identity like around that story. Like, my dad bought me a NES when I was 3, and I've been playing video games ever since. And just like a couple of weeks ago, my dad just told me, like, I bought that damn thing because I wanted to play it. I couldn't figure it out.
My kids will never have that type of story. There will never be a video game console that I can't figure out.
You don't know that, man. You're going to be an old man one day.
That's
What is this dang 3D VR ATXB bullshit?
That's probably more like the TikToks now. Like I don't get it. Seems hilarious.
I was just going to use TikTok as the exact same point.
You also don't get it.
It's stupid. Yeah.
Isn't it just like Vine?
Yeah, it's Vine 2.0, but for younger kids.
They do some good stuff with the TikTok. Also, I don't think they call it the TikTok. Better move on from this quickly. The Facebook.
Let me wrap up what I was getting into this week too, because
I
actually was like, man, I really don't want to record tonight's podcast because I'm playing Last of Us right now to refresh, because the Last of Us Part 2 is coming out next Friday, and we're recording this episode today on Tuesday, and it's so good. Oh my gosh, I just didn't even want to do tonight's episode. That's how good it is.
It's really good.
I don't appreciate that at all.
Yeah, sorry. Because you don't have a PlayStation?
He needs a PlayStation.
In the top 5 best games ever created in all time, I think that Last of Us is going to crack the top 5. It's beautiful. Its story is amazing and perfect, and the gameplay is perfect. It was created originally for PlayStation 3, but they remastered it for PlayStation 4, and that's the one I'm playing. Oh my gosh. I don't want to spoil anything about the story, because, Hummer, if you ever play it, you don't want to know anything about the story.
I can tell you, if it doesn't come out on Xbox or PC, then I'm never going to play it, because I won't be buying a PS5.
I bought a PlayStation for this game.
Yes, yeah, I won't be doing that.
PlayStation has the best one-player games. Like, I love the community. We play on Xbox when we're all hanging out internet-wise, but the first-person games, the single-player games for PlayStation are amazing, and Last of Us is the top of that list. It's so good.
Yeah. I'm looking at my stack right now because I bought a PlayStation so I can finally play Last of Us. And I got Last of Us single-player game, Spider-Man PS4, which is another amazing single-player game, Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War. Those are all just straight bangers for PlayStation only.
They're
all
so
single
good.
player.
Yeah. Guess what's being released on PC?
What, Last of Us 2?
The Last of Us 2.
Dude, you can't
Is
play
Last of
it,
Us
though.
not on? Is The Last of Us not on PC?
They said there's a way to play it through a PlayStation port that Sony has available for like $12.99 a month, and it comes with the 7-day free trial. So if you wanted to be cheap, you could play The Last of Us on PC.
Do not play The Last of Us 2 until you play the first one. Just don't.
If you can play Last of Us between now, if there's a way for you to play it on PC between now and when the Last of Us 2 comes out, you should totally play it. It'll be so worth it.
Yeah, this isn't
one of those games where I can just watch the YouTube video of the story and then jump into the second game.
You can. It won't be as enjoyful.
Okay.
Is enjoyful a word?
It is not.
Well, it is now.
There's so many games I'm playing right now.
I mean, language is dynamic, so.
Yeah, I mean, all words are made up, so.
Yeah, I'm enjoyfuling this conversation.
78.6% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many games out there. It depends on what you want. Do you want a puzzle game? Do you want a multiplayer? Do you want a first-person shooter with your friends? If you want a story game, one of the best story-driven single-player games of all time, Last of Us. I would give it a 10 out of 10, and we don't even use a 10 out of 10 scale. It's a 10 out of 10 critically. It's a 5 out of 5 on our Timesink scale. Play The Last of Us. If you
want a mindless puzzle game? Do you want a goose game where you can run around, bump into things? Do you want a game that will change your entire life, the way you view the world, and make you a better person? Like, what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
You got everything on this podcast.
Yeah, Last of Us. Check it out, please check it out.
Guys, you guys might be like, PlayStation might be losing like its like sales pitch, if you would. Where I was reading with the Last of Us 2, it says Herman Hulse, the boss of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, basically said the time has come to end console exclusivity.
I mean, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with that as long as you're playing Last of Us.
Yeah,
this week
exactly.
brought to you by Last of Us.
I mean, I really think they do, because Xbox chief, what's his name, Phil Spencer, he talks about it. He talks about it all the time, about like Xbox strategy and why like Xbox Game Pass is available on PC. And eventually, I think they're going to try and move that play anywhere. And I'm honestly kind of hoping they do it, start making this move by the end of the year, and hopefully there's some announcements around like the developers for Xbox Series X. Because if that's the case, I'll actually forego getting a Series X and just play, if I can cross-play with everybody on a PC. I'm more than willing to just pick the PC as my platform, because I can keep continuously upgrading it. So, I mean, I think that's great that they want to do that, because it was awesome the other day being able to play with my Call of Duty friends on Xbox, even though I have the game on both platforms. But
yeah, why wouldn't you if you have that option?
I don't know. I think there'll always be at least two big competitors like PlayStation, Xbox, because that competition drives the need and the money flow for the creativity to, our system has the best game, then they're going to try to put all their money into it, right? But it is awesome that all these new games are doing cross-platform.
Yeah, and not everybody has a setup, or not everybody does what probably most of what us do, where we're sitting in our offices, or we're playing Xbox on a TV in our office, or we're playing it on a monitor. So having an Xbox in your living room makes sense, because it's designed to be able to have that user interface that's not a mouse and keyboard, that's not easily accessible to you. It's supposed to be user friendly. So I mean, it makes sense that I think you're always going to have consoles, but even like right now, I might be getting a Google Stadia because it comes free if I upgrade my internet.
It was free because of coronavirus. I've had it for 2 months, and I've played one game on it.
No, with the controller?
Not with the controller, but I use the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, no, if my internet's doing a promotion, Verizon is that if you sign up for gigabit internet, you get the controller and the Chromecast dongle. Like, that's a deal.
I had so much faith, and I thought Google Stadia, as a giant Google fanboy myself, was going to be a console killer, but it's been a huge letdown. I have
Seriously?
it for free, and I've only played it once.
It's weird. This might be a conversation for next
whole
week, but I'm
Yeah, for
curious
sure.
as to why it failed or is failing. I literally have forgotten that it was a thing for months. Anyway, we can talk about that another.
Well, I mean, you're probably not going to get too many competitive players wanting to play on it, simply because there's going to be input lag no matter what you do with it. The fact that you're streaming, like even GeForce Now, like it runs pretty well, but there's always going to be like some lag of input because of the distance all these communications have to travel. So I would imagine that's probably going to be hard. I think it's going to be more casual gamers that probably pick up on it.
Yeah, Hummer's right. We'll get into it next week. So, Tito, you were checking out some new stuff this week too, or some old stuff? What are you checking out?
I didn't have too much to add. I didn't get into a whole lot of new stuff. Watched some Doom Patrol and some Ducktales and some Community, as always. Almost back through my current run of Community. Currently on season 6, which I have seen season 6 the least. And it's almost like I'm rediscovering like new adventures for the characters. It's just, savor every moment. Doom Patrol is interesting. I got a few more episodes in over the last weekend, and I was just kind of watching the little guys. And what's interesting is that Doom Patrol definitely has some horror elements that I didn't realize watching the first episode. So there's some gory scenes, there's some spooky, some violent scenes, and didn't want to expose my little guys to that. So then I switched over to DuckTales, which you'd recommended previously, and it's great. It's exactly like you said. It's the Game of Thrones of cartoons. No, the jokes are funny. The voice acting is great. The storylines are actually interesting. It's visually entertaining for kids, and there's some depth for it with adults as well. It's a good show. It's a good cartoon.
Dude, the voice actors for that show are all money.
Yeah.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie are Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live, Danny Pudi, who plays Abed on Community, and Ben Schwartz, who's John Ralphio, who I love. And Scrooge McDuck is David Tennant, who is a phenomenal actor.
He's the Purple Man in Jessica Jones, among like a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. He is oh my God, he's so good as the Purple Man. It saved that show.
Yeah. Lin-Manuel Miranda's a voice actor in it.
Yep.
Jim Rash, the dean, is in it.
Beck Bennett.
Beck Bennett is in it. Yeah, it's really good. Character actress, beloved character actress Margot Martindale is in it. Yeah, the voice acting is, the cast is crazy. I like don't know how they got all these people to do that. But yeah, it's a good show. I like literally, it's one of those shows where I just had it on in the background, and now when I leave the room, I pause it and just make my kids sit there in silence until I come back. So I can...
That's what happened to me.
It's good. But yeah, I don't. That's most of what I did. I checked out a lot of old stuff this weekend. Some Ducktales. So
what'd you give Ducktales?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's not. I'm not. If I have a choice, like when the kids aren't around, I'll watch something else. But anytime they're just like sitting there, they need to be entertained. That's what I've been turning on.
So this is a with kids 4 out of 5. Like when you're with the kids, this is what you should watch in order to not be bored out of your mind watching kids cartoons.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
As a man in their 30s, you might have a hard time justifying watching DuckTales. So that's what we think is worth sinking your time into this week. Moving on. This week, we're going to deep dive into what we think makes a perfect movie. Now, I have my own 100% subjective idea of what makes a perfect movie in my head.
Let's hear it.
I wanted to hear from you guys first before I give you the right answer. So, what do you think makes a perfect movie?
A perfect movie is one that it kind of makes you suspend belief. Like while you're watching the movie, you kind of forget that you're watching a movie, if that makes any sense. So like I can't say there's like categories that it's going to hit, but it's like you're just so, I don't know, maybe use the word like overwhelmed, so thrilled, so just being taken in by the experience that when you leave there, you just can't help yourself but saying like, damn, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. A perfect movie will definitely take you out of wherever you are and suck you into that movie's reality. For me, probably 2 things. There's a
couple kind of movies that'll do that to you.
different genres.
This week's brought to you by Pornhub.
I feel like several previous weeks have been brought. Anyway,
this one brought to you by YouPorn.
2 things for me. It has to be a big emotional connection that I establish with the movie. Like when I am thinking about the movie later, it's something that I think of fondly. And it has to be something that I easily can recommend to someone else. A perfect movie has to be something that I think is pretty universally liked and that I would feel very comfortable telling someone that this is something they need to watch. So off the top of my head, a movie that I love and is obviously perfect. You guys totally agree with me on this. So the first one that I thought of was Princess Bride. I love Princess Bride. It's clever, it's well written, it's heartfelt, it's funny, it's silly. It was made a long time ago, but I think it still really holds up. I quote it with a couple of my friends. I don't think Sauce and I really have any Princess Bride quotes.
I've never seen that movie.
You gotta be kidding me. Maybe you should have gone first with your scale because it's highly questionable.
It's been so long since I've seen it. But it was like, well, I won't say so long. I've seen it once, relatively recently, like within the past 5 years, and I really can't remember it.
That's the perfect movie. You can't remember the first time you see it, and then you come back and you get a little Princess Bride tattoo. That's how everybody does it. Anyway, so now that I've put myself out there, what do you think, Sauce? What are your criteria?
Time to crash and burn.
I think it's on Netflix now. I was actually going to watch this movie the other week. I know I need to watch it, but I never did.
Princess Bride.
Back, in the dark days when they couldn't just watch any movie I wanted to whenever I wanted.
You didn't record it off of your VCR, off of the TV, and then fast forward through the commercials. That's the thing we used to do, kids.
That was the worst. No, so my brain wants to like quantify what it takes to make a perfect movie. So I'm trying to like look at it objectively from a very subjective topic. So I was thinking about it and I came up with a couple different categories that a movie needs to nail in order to be a perfect movie. I think that when you experience a movie the first time and like your initial gut visceral reaction to the movie is like, wow, that was perfect, can be broken down into number one, acting, how good the acting was. Acting, how good it was.
Uh-huh.
The characters, like the character's journey, the character's story, their arc, number two. Number three, the overall story, you start at point A and you get to point B, you find out that you got to go on epic space adventure, and then at the end of the movie, you blow up the Death Star.
End of the series,
or you blow up Starbase Killer.
Is the Emperor's granddaughter,
or you blow up the Death Star again.
If it ain't broke,
Oh God!
They should have just blown up 2 more Death Stars.
Dude, how is that like? How is that just seriously not soul crushing? Like you're a rebellion, and you blow up the first Death Star. You're super pumped, and then a mere 3 years later, you're just like, what the shit? They're 75% done building another one,
and a bigger one, and a blacker one. So where was I? Number 4 is the dialogue. Something Quentin Tarantino-y, super dialogue heavy, something very well written, like fine wine, good dialogue.
The tete-a-tete.
Yeah, exactly.
The verbal tete.
I mean, that's a good.
Now who's
really
making up
point.
Words?
Dialogue's a really good one because I think you're mentioning blowing up a Death Star, even though that was super actiony. The show itself or the movie itself is more dialogue than it is like high flying action. And even when there is action, there's still some relatively good dialogue. For Star Wars, for people who didn't pick that up yet.
Dialogue, super important, except for in silent films.
It's super important, guys.
Number 5 is cinematography. I've been really getting into like specific directors and how they're filming things and why they're filming things and the way that they frame the scene and to like subconsciously tell a story on top of the dialogue or in place of the dialogue. Some people that are really good at it. Breaking Bad does an amazing job with telling a story through just the visuals that you're seeing in between the dialogue. Westworld was great at it, really good at it. Nothing else is popping out to mind, but cinematography is super important. And then the score. So the music, the sound effects, the overall underlying audio of the movie. If you take all 6 of those, I think you can quantify what makes a perfect movie. So in my head, the very first thing that popped up that is a perfect movie that still works 30 years later, Back to the Future. The first Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It is
that movie rocks.
a perfect movie. And I'm watching it too, and even like small choices, like at the beginning of the movie, the guy's like talking to Marty in the 80s. He's like, save the clock tower. And he hands him a flyer, which a flyer is a giant MacGuffin and important to the story because the flyer tells him in the past what time lightning strikes the clock tower. Instead of just stuffing it in his pocket and, having it later, he gets his girl to write her phone number down on it. So that's the reason why he put it in his pocket. So it actually made sense for him to keep it when his journey back in time. And it's just a little thing like that made me realize, like, man, they thought of everything. This movie is a perfect movie.
Clearly, we've all put the same amount of thought into what defines a perfect movie. No, that's really interesting, and I kind of like your 6 criteria. As you were going through, you were clearly thinking of, Hummer was maybe thinking of Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope. Definitely not any of the most recent trilogy of Star Wars, but I was thinking of Princess Bride still, and I think there's really strong acting in it. There are individual characters who all have arcs that come together by the end. The broad story arc is a classic tale. It's damsel in distress gets rescued, but they do a good job of bringing it all together. The dialogue is probably the strongest part of the movie, I'd say. There's a lot of clever stuff. It's shot well. The main thing that didn't jump out is like when you say the words Back to the Future, you can hear that theme in the back of your head. Like it's so good. And when I was trying to think of like an iconic musical note from Princess Bride, and it didn't. Nothing rang a bell. And I know it has good music, but not to the same level that Back to the Future does. Definitely.
Back to the Future, I mean, the funny thing is you mentioned Back to the Future being a perfect movie. I think Back to the Future 2 is actually almost just as perfect. But movies that stick out in my mind...
I think he stole that guy's wallet. I say that to people all the time randomly. Nobody gets it, but I can't help it because it's my favorite line from that movie.
I'm a huge James Cameron fan.
Kirk Cameron?
Kirk Cameron. James Cameron. But I think Titanic actually was a perfect movie. I thought the acting in it was awesome. Even the characters are, even though you know what the end, like everybody should have known what was going to happen in that movie. Like there's no doubt, like the ship's going down, someone's going to die.
It inspired a pretty iconic moment in a Britney Spears video. So
pretty iconic movie in a Britney Spears video. A song that will go on forever in our hearts by Celine Dion.
Yep. That's a good point. Yeah.
But like the dialogue in it too, like there's some complexities in the relationship that they go throughout in those characters, and it wasn't just Rose and Jack's characters that you see. But I also love the way they incorporated the historical figures and trying to represent them, in an accurate light. And being a Titanic nerd growing up, I always thought it was cool. Like even one of the small details that people don't pick up on is that the old couple while the ship's sinking, and he's basically saying, "I'm not going if you're not going." So they actually go back to their room, and then they show the water flowing underneath the bed. That couple is actually Ida and Isadora Straus, who were the founders of Macy's department stores, and they like were capturing these little moments of these people who like these were their final moments of the stories of what you heard, and the way they incorporated that. I just think they did such a great job, and then the score, like I don't know, the music was just. I think they did a really good job with the music too.
Was that James Cameron's first? Like super success. I know it was a super success, but what did James Cameron do before Titanic?
Terminators.
Was that him? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was him.
Never heard of it.
Terminator 2 could be a perfect movie. I need to rewatch it to make sure.
I feel like you're. Go ahead, Henry.
Oh no, I was gonna say he did do. I think it was at least he did Terminator 2, but James Cameron he actually wanted to do Avatar way before he did it. But he had to shelve it because of the technology that had to be involved in making it. Didn't exist when he actually came up with the concept for it. Like CGI really just wasn't there. And if I'm not, I want to say there was obviously some CGI in Titanic, but it wasn't as heavily used. Like they built gigantic sets. But another movie that strikes me as perfect is Jurassic Park.
Ooh, I was gonna say Jurassic Park, but the T-Rex doesn't show up until an hour and 23 minutes into the movie, which is a big mistake on Steven Spielberg's part.
You got to lead with the T-Rex, hit the T-Rex again 5 minutes in, just nonstop T-Rex. I want to watch a movie about the T-Rex. Only.
Oh, man, there's so many like perfect movies that come out of Steven Spielberg. Jaws.
Jaws is epic.
I
don't like Jaws that way.
No, I've never seen Jaws. I know.
This was your idea.
It doesn't mean.
Have you only seen it?
No one's seen every movie, okay?
I feel like you're missing some pretty iconic stuff here.
Yeah, we all are.
Like the movie that made Steven Spielberg.
I thought that was E.T.
Whatever, it was definitely Jaws. I don't like E.T. E.T. is like one of my least favorite movies.
E.T. scared me when I was a little kid.
It's just so boring. It's so long, and
I don't think it's classic, but I don't think it's aged particularly well.
Yeah,
that was sweet.
Like rewatching Back to the Future, like it holds up still. That's why another reason I think it's a perfect movie is it still holds up.
Back to the Future's ride at Universal Studios was way better than E.T.'s ride.
Just throwing that out there.
Throwing that out there. If you guys have ridden those rides at Universal Studios,
I don't disagree with you.
The first Iron Man is a perfect movie.
First Iron Man is great. I don't know. Does it have the music cues? You love Iron Man.
Are you
1.
kidding me?
And
Iron Man and AC/DC?
oh yeah. Nice. That's a good point.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok
is a
It's
fantastic
borderline.
movie, but I wouldn't call it a perfect movie.
I feel like a certain amount of time has to pass before you can really throw a movie into that category.
Yeah.
See if it ages well.
I mean, but do you? I mean, what would be the newest perfect movie that's been released? Fight Club? Well, no, that was around the same time as Titanic.
Fight Club's
Parasite.
old, man.
No Country for Old Men.
Parasite's really good.
I've never seen Parasite. I'm just joking.
Come on, man.
What? I can't see everything. I need a podcast to listen to so I know what to watch.
I'll do a podcast with Hummer about movie recommendations specifically for you to listen to. So Top Gun. Top Gun is amazing. Top Gun is such a good movie. Top Gun
Perfect movie.
has
The
amazing
number one all-time movie besides Con
ridiculous
Air.
cinematography. It has a great score. The dialogue is spot on. You're so invested in the characters. Man, like, yes, Top Gun is like right up there. Perfect movie and something that you should see. Top Gun is a 5 out of 5.
I'll watch it this week.
It's
Watch
going to
it.
be. It's almost going to be. It's so perfect. Like, it's so good and it's so perfect that the sequel that's coming out is guaranteed to be a failure.
Oof.
There's no way I won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
But I will watch it, but it's going to be good, I feel like. But there's no way it's going to be better than the first because the first was just that freaking good.
It's the first one absolutely does not need a sequel. It's very obvious that
Studio's
they're
trying to
doing
get paid.
Yeah, they left
We're
it
all
off
gonna
where
go
it
see
needed-
it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. I saw Avatar in the theaters. I want to say 3 or 4 times.
I haven't seen Avatar in a long time. It really had its moment and then disappeared. And
It's a
I
long.
kind of want to go
movie.
back and rewatch it.
It's a very long movie, so it's a very. If you're sinking your time into it, it's just so long. But I would, and that's what stopped me from saying like putting that on that list of most recent maybe perfect movies, is that it's like 3+ hours long, and it's almost like 2 movies in one in the sense of like the how the story plays out.
Luckily, he gets 5 more chances to make a perfect Avatar. So
How many are they making?
I think it seriously is like
5 or 6.
5. Yeah.
That's just incredible. I don't know how they're going to recapture the magic of the first one because I think the first one, what else that got me about it is like you can picture yourself being this guy, has no idea what he's getting himself into, but he doesn't have the use of his legs. He was ex-military, so he's like, all right, I can do whatever. But then you get into this avatar where all of a sudden you have use of your legs.
Yeah.
And you can do all these crazy things. Like you're jumping around trees and you're flying on these like horses with wings. Like, I don't care if someone's going to be fun. They're like, we'll get you your real legs. I'm like, no, I want the ones where I can go fly.
Yeah. The enjoyment that a person would get from riding a flying horse is off the charts.
There's a ride in Disney where it's like a very immersive virtual reality ride that you get in, put it on, and you're like moving in it. It's like one of the best rides in the park.
I'm excited to see what happens with these new avatars. But like you said, there's a high chance they'll be disappointing. I mean, I wrote at least 5 movies worth of Avatar fan fiction, and there's no way it's going to be as good as this.
If Planet of the Apes can be a good movie,
That's like my standard for everything. The Planet of the Apes trilogy is amazing, and Adam, I've gone off on this rant before. I'll still do it. The premise is so ridiculous, and the movies are so good. Why do I ever see a bad movie if there are 3 amazing Planet of the Apes movies? Why?
I assume it's a producer situation where they want to make a flap and make money off of it.
Please continue. I wasn't done hearing your rant about this.
Like, why did I have to sit through The Rise of Skywalker if there are 3 good Planet of the Apes movies? And now I kind of want to rewatch them.
Let's go back. Like, I mean, if we're talking Planet of the Apes, like, don't throw any shade at the original Planet of the Apes. That was an awesome movie. I just feel like maybe for people our age, it's harder to get into those movies filmed like in that style. Really before George Lucas changes the scene on special effects. it's hard to watch movies like Planet of the Apes. I mean, back then, all they really had to rely on was dialogue. And I saw, as you mentioned, cinematography.
And Charlton Heston.
A
Soylent
young
Green
Charlton
is
Heston.
people.
You nailed that, man.
Soylent Green is dope.
That was that wasn't a sound drop. That was sauce.
So
Give me 6 more Planet of the Apes movies.
Any other perfect movies that you can think of?
I like Die Hard. It's a little bit silly, but man, it's good. It's rewatchable. My family watches it every Christmas. Action's good. There's iconic lines. There are great music cues. He goes through a personal. He he battles the terrorists in the building to get to the top floor and battles the terrorists in his heart. It's
On Air.
I love.
Did
I will
you
say
say
I
Con Air?
haven't
On
seen
Air.
Con Air. I haven't seen Con Air.
Oh my
Seriously?
God, Nicolas
It's-
Cage in his prime.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I wasn't gonna do it.
John
I was thinking about a
Malkovich.
Nicolas Cage.
Oh my
impression,
God, it's so good. It is from a like it's almost like this is the only way I know how to describe it. It's like Zoolander. Zoolander, if you watch it once, it's the world's worst movie ever. If you only watch it one time. If you watch it a second time, you pick up more of like the subtleties and the comedy of it. It gets hysterical. By the time you watch Zoolander a third time, it's one of the world's greatest movies because it's so dumb that it's funny. Where Con Air at times can be so dumb that it's hysterical and it's action-packed, and it's probably my top 2 favorite movies of all time.
Whoa!
Wow.
I have been meaning to see Con Air.
Okay, so that reminds me. Have you guys heard of the new Nicolas Cage movie coming out?
No.
This movie sounds amazing. It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and it's a story about an actor who has conversations with himself in his prime and is like a struggling actor now and ends up doing a deal with a drug cartel while trying to write a movie, and Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage in it. And you just have to read the synopsis for it. It sounds so good. I cannot wait to see this movie.
When does it come out?
They're filming it right now. I don't know when it comes out.
Could be a while.
But yeah, it looks like we're running out of time here. So out of everything that we talked about this week, what would your guys' recommendations of the week be? One thing.
One for each of you. Sauce, you, Top Gun. Tito, Con Air.
You son of a bitch.
My recommendation was going to be, if you haven't seen Top Gun, man, go see Top Gun. Come on.
That's like that's not even a 5. That's just like, no, you gotta go.
Because we've been talking about it, I'm literally going to watch Top Gun. Maybe not tonight, but probably tomorrow.
My recommendation is going to be Last of Us. It's one of the best games of all time, and the second one's about to come out, so play The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's your homework coming. Last of Us. Figure it out. You got it.
Yeah, if it's not easily accessible on PC.
It's not easily accessible on PC.
I'm not one to go buy a new system right now.
Just do it. Buy and a Switch.
God.
So what's your recommendation for the week? Pick of the week.
Epstein. I mean, if you got Epstein stuff, you got to watch it. It's good.
Awesome. So thanks for tuning in this week, guys. If you have a suggestion for what you think is a perfect movie, we'd love to hear about it. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, at Timesink. Thanks for tuning in this week. Go ahead and check us out on any podcast service that you use. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you next week.